CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts, Lisa Collin, 85, and Dark Impulse for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. I found a red room that lets you vote on how the victim dies. I chose let him go, but then the host read out my home address. Yo, I don't really know how to start this. I've never posted to Reddit before, let alone r/no sleep or anything like that. I don't do horror stories. I'm just some dude who works at a vape shop in Dallas and watches way too many creepy animated YouTube videos at 3 a.m. with a McChicken in one hand and an iced coffee in the other. But after what happened 2 weeks ago, I haven't been able to sleep. I think someone's watching me, and I need to get this out before I go nuts. It started like any other night. Me slouched in my gaming chair, scrolling through TikTok and YouTube shorts like a zombie while a random true crime doc auto-played in the background. The usual: podcasts, Reddit reads, Luna stories, and those creepy here's my story animations that somehow always end with someone moving to Alaska or getting arrested. You know the vibe. But then I stumbled across a Discord invite link. It was buried in the comments of a livestream fails thread, way down below the usual memes and hot takes. The comment was from a user called Snoot4Life, and it just said, if you're tired of fake horror and want to see what real fear looks like, come see the show. But you only get one chance. discord.gg/realroom999. Yeah, I know. Should have been a red flag, right? But I was bored, high, and curious, so I clicked it. The invite took me to a private Discord server called the Red Room. It had less than 100 members. The profile pic was just a solid black circle with a single blood red dot in the middle. No description, no welcome message, just a voice channel called /showtime/ and a text channel labeled #livevote. I hovered for a second. My hand was literally shaking over the mouse. Something about it felt heavy, like I was stepping into something I wasn't supposed to see. But I clicked in anyway. The voice channel was silent for a few seconds. Just some light static, like an old TV tuned to nothing. Then out of nowhere, the screen went pitch black. The kind of black that feels thick, like it's swallowing the light in your room. Then a voice came through. Deep, masculine, slow. Welcome. You are one of 99. Make your choice carefully. Then the video feed began. It looked like a cheap live stream setup at first. Grainy, low res, like some cursed Facebook Live from 2007. The camera was pointing at a concrete room. No windows. One metal chair. In the middle of the room was a man, tied to the chair with duct tape around his ankles and wrists. He was shaking. His eyes were wide open, staring straight at the camera. I could see bruises, blood on his shirt, dirt on his knees. He was real. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't some edgy ARG or Netflix marketing stunt. This dude was real, and he was terrified. And then the options appeared on screen. Just 2 buttons. Let him go. Choose his death. The Discord chat was popping off. People were laughing, posting clown emojis, spamming kill him LOL like it was Twitch chat during a boss fight. But this didn't feel like a game. There was a countdown timer. 60 seconds. I hovered over let him go. My stomach felt sick, like I was gonna puke. I didn't even know this guy, but everything in my body told me he was real, and this was real, and I clicked, let him go. And then everything changed. The stream paused. The chat froze. The man in the chair stopped shaking. Then the voice came back, louder this time, clearer, like it was speaking right behind me. Contestant 46 has voted. Let's honor their mercy. I let out a breath. My heart was pounding. Then the camera zoomed in, not on the man, on a small screen in the corner of the room. It was a map of my neighborhood, Google Maps style, street names and all. My street was highlighted in red. My house. My fucking house. Then the voice spoke again, casually, like he was reading a weather report. 46 has chosen mercy. Let's see if they deserve it. Click. The video went black, and the stream ended. I sat there frozen. I tried to leave the Discord, but it wouldn't let me. I clicked leave server 100 times. Nothing happened. Then my phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. Nice choice. 46. Mercy can be dangerous. I deleted the message, turned my phone off, ripped the Ethernet cable from my PC. I even unplugged the modem like it was gonna help. I didn't sleep that night. Every time a car drove by, I thought it was them. Every knock on the wall, every shadow, I felt like the guy in the chair, except I didn't have tape. Anyway, that was 2 weeks ago. Since then, I've been followed twice. Once at Starbucks, once at a Target in Fort Worth. Same guy both times. Bald, hoodie, no expression. Didn't say a word, just stared at me until I left. Oh, and yesterday, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a cheap webcam, brand new, still in the box, and a note. Next stream's on you. The webcam sat on my kitchen counter for 3 days before I touched it. I didn't unplug it. I didn't smash it. I didn't throw it in the trash behind my apartment like my brain kept screaming at me to do. I just stared at it every time I walked past, like it might move on its own if I looked away too long. It was one of those cheap Logitech models you can buy at Walmart for $30. Still had the plastic wrap on the lens. Still smelled like new electronics and cardboard. That's what messed with me the most. They didn't send something creepy. No blood, no symbols, no threats written in red marker like in the movies. Just a normal webcam. Something completely ordinary. Something that belonged in my life already. That night, I dreamed I was back in the Discord stream. Same concrete room, same chair, but this time, I was the one sitting in it. The duct tape wasn't tight. It was loose, sloppy, like it didn't matter if I escaped or not, because the door was open, and the hallway outside was dark and endless, like an airport terminal at 3 a.m. I could hear footsteps echoing toward me, slow and patient. When I woke up, my phone was vibrating on my chest. Unknown number again. Plug it in. I didn't reply. Another buzz, immediately. We can see you breathing. I plugged it in. The webcam light turned on by itself. I hadn't installed anything. No drivers, no setup. My laptop screen flickered, and a window opened automatically. Black background, red text. Welcome back, 46. Below it, a live video feed. Not of me, of a McDonald's. At first I thought it was just some random location. The golden arches glowing in the rain, the parking lot half empty, a few cars idling at the drive-thru. But then the camera angle shifted slightly, like someone adjusted their grip, and I recognized the place. It was the McDonald's 3 blocks from my apartment, the one I go to when I'm too tired to cook. The one where the cashier knows my order. The one where I'd been sitting just 4 nights ago, scrolling Instagram, completely unaware. Text appeared on the screen. "You know this place." My throat went dry. The camera zoomed in on the front doors. A man walked out, holding a paper bag. Hoodie up, head down. Normal. Completely normal. He stopped under the awning to light a cigarette. The flame flared, briefly illuminating his face. I recognized him too. He lived in my building, 3rd floor. Always complained about the elevators. We'd shared small talk once, while waiting for a DoorDash order. He'd laughed about how the ice cream machine was always broken. Another line of text appeared. "We know him too." The chat box opened on the side of the screen. Same usernames as before. Same jokes. Same casual cruelty. Poll options popped up, but this time they weren't about death. They were about interference. Do nothing, follow. Test him, a countdown began. I didn't want to click anything. I sat there frozen, my hands hovering uselessly over the keyboard. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth. I told myself this was still a bluff, a scare tactic, a sick performance. The man flicked his cigarette away and started walking. The timer hit 0. The vote finalized. Winning option, follow. The camera moved, not smoothly, like a drone or security cam. It walked. Footsteps echoed softly through the mic. The man on screen had no idea. He crossed the parking lot, got into his car, and drove off. The camera followed, shaky, handheld, always staying just far enough back to not be noticed. I watched the entire thing, unable to look away. He drove home. My building came into view. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might pass out. The camera stayed outside as he went in. The feed switched seamlessly. Another angle, another camera. Lobby, elevator, hallway, 3rd floor, his door. I realized then that this wasn't a live stream. This was a system, a network. Text appeared again. Your turn. The poll refreshed. Warn him. Watch escalate. The chat was going insane. People were begging. Others were taunting me directly. Come on, 46. Don't be boring. Let's see how brave you are, IRL. Mercy didn't work last time. I hovered over. Warn him. My phone buzzed. Another message. If you contact him, the test ends. Not for him. For you. My finger moved. I clicked. Watch. Nothing happened for a long time. Minutes passed. The man went inside his apartment. The camera stayed in the hallway, angled toward his door. Silent. Waiting. Then the hallway lights flickered. Once. Twice. The man's door opened again. He stepped out, confused, holding his phone up, like he'd lost signal. He looked down the hall, straight at the camera. I swear to God, for a split second, it felt like he could see me. Like the screen wasn't a barrier anymore. Like we were sharing the same space, the same breath. Text appeared slowly, letter by letter. This is where you learn. A sound came through the feed. A soft knock from inside his apartment. The man turned around. The door was closed. Another knock, louder this time. He hesitated, laughed nervously, said something I couldn't hear. Maybe, hello, maybe someone's name. He opened the door. The camera didn't follow inside. It stayed in the hallway. The chat exploded. I covered my mouth with my hand. My whole body was shaking. I kept waiting for screaming, for violence, for something overt and obvious. Instead, there was silence. Too much silence. Then the man stepped back out into the hallway. His face was wrong. Not injured, not bloody. Just empty. Like something had been taken out of him. His eyes were unfocused, his movements stiff, mechanical. He walked past the camera without looking at it, down the hall, toward the stairwell. The feed cut to black. Text appeared one final time. He walks away. So do you. For now. The window closed. The webcam light turned off. I sat there in the dark for hours, listening to every sound in my apartment, every pipe, every footstep outside, every car passing on the street below. The next morning, there were police cars outside my building. They taped off the 3rd floor. The man from McDonald's was listed as a missing person by noon. No signs of a struggle. No forced entry. No witnesses. Just an apartment that looked like someone had stepped out to grab something and never came back. And the worst part, when I checked my laptop later that night, there was a new folder on the desktop. It was labeled Participation History. Inside were timestamps, votes, decisions, mine. The folder didn't delete. That's the first thing you need to understand. I tried everything. Right-click, delete. Shift plus delete. Drag it to the trash. Restart. Safe mode. Even booted from a USB, like I was some kind of paranoid IT guy in a bad movie. Every time the laptop came back on, the folder was there. Same name, same red icon, same quiet accusation sitting on my desktop, like it owned the place. Participation history. I didn't open it again. I didn't need to. I already knew what was inside. Choices, timestamps, proof that I hadn't just seen things. I'd helped them happen. That day, I skipped work. I told my manager I had food poisoning, which wasn't technically a lie. My insides felt like they were rotting. I stayed inside, curtains drawn, phone face down, TV on mute. I kept checking my apartment door, half expecting it to be unlocked already. Around 3:17 p.m., my laptop chimed. Not a notification sound, a meeting sound, like Zoom. The screen turned on by itself again. This time, there was no welcome message, just a live feed. It was a Starbucks. Not mine, not local. I recognized it instantly anyway. The one in Shibuya, Tokyo. The crossing was visible through the glass, neon reflections bleeding into the windows, crowds moving like schools of fish. The camera was inside, seated low, like someone had placed it on a table and stepped away. A woman sat across from it. She looked young, college age, maybe. Oversized sweater, AirPods in, laptop open. She was editing something, video, judging by the timeline on her screen. YouTube creator vibes. The kind of person who probably had comments like, "You're so brave for sharing this," under her uploads. Text appeared. She is live. I noticed then, her phone, propped against a mug. She was live. Instagram live, judging by the interface. Hearts floating up the screen. Comments scrolling too fast to read. Thousands of viewers, smiling, laughing, talking to her chat, like everything was fine. I felt sick. The poll appeared immediately. No build-up this time. No easing in. Interrupt. Isolate. Replace. I didn't understand the third option. I didn't want to. I didn't touch anything. The timer didn't appear. Instead, the text changed. No response is a response. The vote finalized on its own. Winning option, isolate. The Starbucks door locked. Not slammed. Not dramatically. Just a soft click. Easy to miss if you weren't listening for it. The woman kept talking to her stream, smiling, laughing. She took a sip of her drink and immediately frowned, looked down at it, swirled it slightly. Her chat started reacting before she did. "What's wrong? Did you freeze? Why'd the lights dim?" The overhead lights flickered once, then dropped to emergency mode. Half the cafe went dark. The street outside kept moving. People walked past the windows, unaware, unbothered. The camera angle shifted. I realized then that there wasn't just one camera. There never was. The feed split into 4 views, different corners of the cafe, ceiling, exit, bathroom hallway, a system. The woman stood up, confused now, pulled her AirPods out, tried the door. It didn't open. She laughed nervously at first. You know that laugh people do when they don't want to panic on camera. Guys, I think they're closing early or something, she said to her phone. Her chat was spamming question marks. Then the music cut out. Total silence. She stopped smiling. Text appeared again. Say hello, 46. A text box opened on my screen. A message field, connected directly to her live chat. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to grip my wrist to steady them. I didn't type anything. I couldn't. I just stared at her face on the screen, the confusion turning into fear in real time, broadcast to thousands of people who thought this was a glitch, or content, or some weird performance. Someone typed in her chat, "Is this a prank?" Another, "This feels scripted." Another, "LOL Starbucks ARG." I realized then how easy it was, how safe it felt when you were behind a screen. The feed zoomed in on her phone. A message appeared in her chat. From System. "You've been selected." She read it out loud. Her voice cracked. The chat exploded. Before she could say anything else, her phone died. Screen went black. Live ended. The camera feed stayed. She backed away from the table. That's when the bathroom door opened. Someone stepped out. I won't describe them in detail. I don't need to. Your brain will do a better job than I ever could. Just know that they didn't rush. They didn't chase. They walked calmly, like this was a routine they'd practiced 1,000 times. The woman screamed. The sound cut halfway through, like someone muted a mic. The camera did not look away. The poll refreshed. Intervene. Accelerate. Replace. I was crying at this point. Actually crying. I slammed the laptop shut, like that would stop it. It didn't. The audio kept playing through the speakers. I opened it again. The vote was already locked. Winning option. Replace. The feed cut. New feed. Same Starbucks. Lights on. Doors open. Normal crowd. Same table. A different woman sat there now. Same sweater. Same laptop. Same mug. She smiled at her phone. "Hey guys. Sorry about that. My stream crashed for a sec." The chat welcomed her back. No one questioned it. The text appeared one last time. "Identity is flexible. Yours too." That night, my Instagram logged itself out. When I logged back in, my profile picture was gone. My bio was empty. And under login activity, there was a session active in a country I have never been to. I changed my password. It changed back. I don't think they're threatening me anymore. I think they're practicing. The first time I left my apartment after the Starbucks stream, I realized something was wrong with the city. Not wrong in a movie way. No sirens blaring non-stop. No helicopters. No screaming crowds. It was worse than that. Everything was normal, just slightly misaligned. Like someone had rebuilt the world using reference photos instead of memory. People smiled, a fraction too late. Traffic lights stayed yellow longer than they should. Digital billboards glitched for a single frame before correcting themselves. I noticed it because once you've seen behind the curtain, you start counting the stitches. I went to a grocery store. Big chain, bright lights, families, kids crying in carts, a guy arguing with self-checkout. I stood in the cereal aisle, pretending to compare prices while my hand shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. That's when my phone vibrated. Not a text, not a call, a poll notification. I didn't have any app installed, that could do that. I checked anyway. Nothing new. The notification stayed. You are live. I spun around, heart slamming, expecting cameras, people staring, something obvious. Nothing. Just shoppers. I felt it then. The same sensation you get when you realize someone's been standing behind you for a while. That pressure between your shoulder blades. That certainty. I wasn't watching anymore. I was the feed. When I got back home, my apartment door was unlocked. I know it was locked when I left. I check it twice every time now. Deadbolt, handle, deadbolt again. Inside, nothing was missing. Nothing was moved. Nothing except my laptop. It was open on the kitchen table. The webcam was plugged in. The screen showed a dashboard, not a stream, not a chat. Analytics, viewer count, engagement metrics, heat maps, drop-off points. I scrolled without meaning to, like my hands had muscle memory for this now. There were clips, short ones, seconds long, moments from the past few days. Me in the grocery store aisle, staring into space. Me waiting at a crosswalk, jaw clenched, eyes darting. Me sitting on my bed at 2:41 a.m., whispering, "Please stop," to an empty room. Each clip had ratings, stars, comments. Too passive. Good tension, weak payoff. Subject still resisting. I felt something break in me then. Not panic, not fear. Disassociation. The kind where your body keeps going, but your brain steps back and watches like it's someone else's problem. The screen refreshed. A new segment loaded. Training phase. Active participation. The feed went live again. This time, it wasn't far away. It was a parking garage. Underground. Concrete pillars. Flickering fluorescent lights. Oil stains. The kind that smells like rust and old water. I recognized it immediately. It was under the mall I used to go to as a kid. The one with the dying food court and the abandoned movie theater that still had posters from 10 years ago. A man stood near a pillar, middle-aged, office clothes, tie loosened, phone pressed to his ear. He was arguing with someone. I could hear his voice echoing slightly, bouncing off concrete. "I told you, I'm on my way. I just need 5 minutes." He laughed nervously. "I'm not lost. I know where I parked." The camera angle was low, hidden, watching. Text appeared, clean and calm. Subject is aware of being lost. Subject is not aware of being seen. A new poll appeared. No dramatic wording. No threats. Just instructions. Misdirect, delay, reveal. I didn't touch anything. The cursor moved on its own, hovered over reveal, clicked. My chest tightened, but a part of me, a quiet, sick part, wanted to see what would happen, wanted to know how deep this went. The man's phone buzzed. He stopped talking mid-sentence. "Hold on," he said to whoever was on the line. He looked down at the screen. I could see the message reflected faintly in his glasses. "You're not alone." He laughed again, but it came out wrong this time. "Okay," he said, forcing it. "Very funny." Another message. "Turn around." He didn't. Another. "We're behind you." He turned. There was nothing there. The camera angle shifted slightly, just enough to let me see his face clearly now. The confusion had drained out of it, replaced by something raw and animal. His breathing sped up. He scanned the garage, backing toward his car. The pole refreshed. Approach, circle, collapse. I didn't understand the last option. I didn't want to. The vote locked almost instantly. Winning option, circle. Footsteps echoed. Slow, deliberate. Not one set. Several. He spun in place, trying to track them. His phone slipped from his hand and clattered onto the concrete. He whispered something. A prayer, maybe, or a name. The camera never revealed anyone else. That's what made it unbearable. The man broke. He ran, not screaming, not yelling, just running blindly between pillars, breath ragged, shoes slipping on oil patches. The footsteps followed, always just out of frame. Then he tripped. He hit the ground hard. The footsteps stopped. Silence filled the garage, thick and suffocating. The pole appeared again. Leave him educate. End test. I knew then. This wasn't about killing. It never was. It was about data. How long someone could hold on to themselves. What broke first? Logic, hope, identity, obedience. The text changed before the vote finished. Subject, response, acceptance. The man lay on the concrete, curled in on himself. I understand, he said quietly. He wasn't talking to anyone specific. Just given up. The feed cut. I threw up in my sink. I scrubbed my hands until my knuckles bled, like I could wash the involvement off, like I could still pretend I wasn't part of the machine. When I looked back at the laptop, there was a new badge next to my identifier. Trusted participant. Below it, a message. You're learning faster than most. I don't think they need me anymore. I think they're seeing how well I adapt. I didn't notice the camera at first. That's the part that still makes my stomach drop when I think about it. Not that it was there, but that it had been there long enough for my brain to accept it as normal. Like a ticking clock you stop hearing after a while. It was mounted high in the corner of my bedroom, right where the ceiling meets the wall. Small, matte black. No blinking light. No wires that I could see. If you weren't looking for it, you'd assume it was part of the smoke detector or some cheap smart home sensor left behind by a previous tenant. I stood in my bed and stared at it for a long time. It stared back. My laptop chimed. The dashboard was gone. No analytics, no comments, no polls. Just one live feed. Me. From that camera angle. The delay was barely noticeable. A fraction of a second between my movement and the screen copying it. Enough to make it feel wrong. Like watching yourself in a mirror that thinks before it reflects. Text appeared. Final phase. Immersion. I laughed. I don't know why. Maybe it was shock. Maybe my brain finally snapped and decided humor was the least painful option left. I laughed until my chest hurt and tears ran down my face. Okay, I said out loud. Okay, you got me. The camera didn't respond. The text did. Louder. I repeated myself. Still nothing. Another line appeared. Say what they want to hear. My mouth went dry. Please, I said. The word felt rehearsed, like I'd practiced it in my head 1,000 times already. The screen refreshed. A chat appeared. Not usernames this time, just numbers. Viewer count climbed steadily. Hundreds, thousands, more than I'd ever seen before. Faster than any live stream I'd ever watched. Faster than something real should grow. Comments started rolling in. Subject shows delayed compliance. Emotional response flattening. Identity degradation successful. I backed away from the bed until my calves hit the dresser. You said I was done, I whispered. You said I was learning. You are. The camera zoomed slightly, not digitally, physically. I could hear the soft whir of a motor adjusting. This is the lesson that matters. The poll appeared for the last time. No options, just a single statement with a countdown beneath it. Will you continue? 10 seconds. I shook my head violently. No, 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 no. 9, 8. I thought about the man in the parking garage, about the woman in the cafe who smiled and kept streaming like nothing had happened, about how easy it was for thousands of people to watch and call it content. 7, 6. I thought about my social feeds, how my posts had stopped getting engagement, how my messages went unread, how my face didn't quite look like mine anymore in photos. 5, 4. I realized then what the votes were actually for. Not to decide who lived or died, not even to control outcomes. They were training people to accept the role of the watcher, so that when it was their turn, they wouldn't fight it. 3, 2. The screen changed before the timer hit 0. Consent recorded. I screamed. The room went dark. Not blackout dark. Worse. Emergency light dark. A dull red glow seeped from somewhere I couldn't identify, casting long shadows that bent in unnatural ways. The walls looked farther apart than they should have been. The ceiling felt higher. The camera was closer now. I don't remember it moving. I just remember it being there. Text scrolled slowly, like credits at the end of a movie. You will continue as normal. You will go out. You will be seen. You will be watched. My phone buzzed. Instagram notification. Someone had gone live. It was me. I watched myself sit on the edge of my bed, eyes hollow, breathing shallow, staring at the camera like a trained animal waiting for a cue. Hearts floated up the screen. Comments rolled in. Is this a performance? This feels real. Why does he look like that? I didn't remember pressing Go Live. The stream description updated on its own. Everyday life, unfiltered. I tried to move. My body responded a second late, like it was waiting for approval. The camera feed zoomed out, switching angles smoothly now. Kitchen, hallway, front door. A full layout. My home reduced to a set. Another message appeared, private this time. Tomorrow, you'll leave the apartment. I shook my head again, weaker this time. You'll go somewhere crowded. McDonald's, Starbucks, malls, sidewalks. Anywhere people thought they were safe. You won't remember the camera after a while. The scariest part. They were right. I'm writing this now because something glitched. The stream dropped for exactly 7 minutes. Long enough for me to feel like myself again. Long enough to remember that this isn't normal. That this isn't okay. My phone just buzzed again. The live count is back. The camera is adjusting. If this post uploads, if you're reading this, if any of this feels even slightly familiar, check your corners, check your ceilings, check the reflections in your screens when they lag for just a second too long, because the red room doesn't need victims anymore. It needs perspectives, and sooner or later, everyone keeps watching long enough to end up on camera. I took a job from a dark web hitman forum just to see if it was real. The target was me, from another timeline, so I don't usually post on here. I've been lurking /no sleep for years, mostly for fun, mostly while I'm procrastinating life. College apps, ghosting my ex, doom scrolling TikTok until my brain is oatmeal. But what happened last month? Yeah, this time it's real. I'm typing this from a Motel 6 outside of Boulder, Colorado. If you're reading this, I just hope I'm not already dead. Let me back up. This all started about 5 weeks ago. It was a random Thursday night, around 2:30 a.m. I couldn't sleep. Insomnia's been my shadow since I turned 21, and I was watching one of those animated horror story channels on YouTube. You know, the ones with creepy robotic voiceovers and silhouetted people doing disturbing things. I had autoplay on. One video ends, another queues up. I wasn't really paying attention until I heard the words, a hitman forum, on the dark web where the target is you. I literally sat up. That shiver down your back feeling? Yeah, full body goosebumps. The animation was janky as hell. Some stick figure dude looking in the mirror and seeing himself aiming a sniper rifle at himself. Edgy, yeah, but it planted a seed in my brain. I'd been down a few rabbit holes before. Red rooms, black markets, mystery boxes, all probably fake. But the dark web always had that what if energy. So I downloaded Tor again. It's not like it was my first time, but this time I wasn't just browsing onion links like a bored teenager. This time I was looking for something specific. I don't even want to tell you what I typed into hidden wiki clones. Stuff like contract job board, hitman services verified, assassination services real. I felt like a lunatic, but I wasn't ready for what I actually found. It was a site called Mirrored Mercy. The landing page was simple. White background, no logo, just 2 text boxes, location and job type. I stared at it for like a full minute. It felt like one of those weird puzzles in an escape room where you don't want to touch anything because it might lock the door behind you. I typed, location, United States job, type, inquiry. It loaded instantly. No loading bar, no ads, no animations, just a black background with white text that read, "Welcome, visitor 6889. We have 1 open contract remaining in your sector. Would you like to view it?" I clicked, yes. The screen glitched, like for real glitched, not horror movie glitched. And then it loaded a profile, not a target like I expected. It was a mirror, a profile of me. Name, redacted. Age, 21. Location, my actual city down to the zip code. Status, in Q threat level, high assigned operator, CN/ME. At first, I thought maybe it was a joke, like maybe my webcam had been hacked or it scraped my info off social media. But then I saw something that froze my blood. There was a tiny thumbnail on the top right. I clicked it. It was a live feed of my bedroom, not just any angle either. It was a bird's eye view from the ceiling where there wasn't a camera. I looked up and saw nothing, just my smoke detector. But on the screen, I was sitting on my bed scrolling through Reddit, wearing the same hoodie, drinking the same Coke, watching myself in real time. I slammed my laptop shut so hard the screen cracked. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I texted my roommate, Jason, who was out of town visiting his girlfriend in Toronto. I told him someone had hacked into the apartment. He joked about me being paranoid again, sent me a meme, and ghosted for hours. I tore my room apart. Smoke detector, clean, no wires, no hidden lens. I even pried the casing open with a fork. Nothing, but that live feed was still in my head. I could see it every time I closed my eyes. Me, frozen on the bed, target locked. Later that day, curiosity got the best of me. I reopened Tor, even though part of me screamed not to. Mirrored Mercy, loaded without me even typing anything. The same profile, but this time the status had changed. Status confirmed. Countdown initiated. Time remaining 72 minutes 0 seconds. Termination operator sane/me activated. I didn't even get a chance to process it before the site booted me. I wish I could say I deleted everything and moved on. But when you're staring at a timer ticking down to your own execution, it sort of does something to your brain. I tried filing a report, but what would I even say? Hey officer, someone hired a hitman version of me to kill me in 72 hours through a creepy Craigslist of death. Yeah, That'd go over well. Instead, I did the only thing that made sense. I started watching myself. Every movement, every mirror, every screen. I covered my webcam with tape. I shut off my iPhone. I switched to a burner Android with no Google account. I deleted every piece of social media I had. Instagram, Twitter, even my Spotify. But the countdown kept ticking. 55, 27, 0, 8:34, 0, 0, 0, 0, 18, 46, 39. And then I saw him. I was sitting in the Starbucks on 8th and Main, the big one with the all-glass front wall. You might know it if you're from Chicago. I was drinking black coffee because I couldn't stomach food anymore. That's when I saw the reflection in the window. Someone across the street, staring straight at me. And the weirdest part? He looked just like me. Like, uncannily like me. Down to the haircut, the stupid chipped AirPod case clipped to his belt, even the little scar under my left eye from when I tripped on a bird scooter in Miami 2 years ago. But his eyes were dead. He didn't blink. He just tilted his head and smiled. That's when I knew. This wasn't just a website. This wasn't just a prank or ARG or social experiment. This was real. And the person who was going to kill me was me. From somewhere or somewhen else. I didn't run when I should have. That's the part that still makes my stomach twist when I replay it. Every horror story has that moment where you're screaming at the main character to move, to leave, to get out while you still can. But when it's you, real life doesn't feel like a movie. It feels slow, sticky, like your feet are glued to the floor and your brain is buffering. After I saw him in the Starbucks window, I didn't bolt. I just sat there. My hands were shaking so badly, I spilled coffee all over the table, burned my wrist, didn't even feel it. I kept staring at the reflection, waiting for him to disappear, waiting to realize it was just exhaustion or paranoia or some TikTok brain hallucination. He didn't disappear. He crossed the street. I watched his shoes hit the pavement in the reflection, watched people pass through him like NPCs in a game. A mom dragging her kid toward McDonald's, a guy in a Patagonia vest scrolling on his phone. Normal life, happening inches away from something impossibly wrong. I left my coffee and walked out the back exit. I didn't look over my shoulder until I was 3 blocks away, standing outside a closed nail salon with neon signs buzzing like dying insects. When I did look back, the sidewalk was empty. No doppelganger, no dead-eyed smile, nothing. That should have been comforting. It wasn't, because my phone buzzed. I'd turned everything off. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, data. The burner phone was supposed to be clean. No apps except a notes app and an offline map I downloaded earlier that day. The screen lit up anyway. Unknown. Contact. You weren't supposed to leave. I dropped the phone like it bit me. It kept buzzing on the concrete, vibrating itself in little frantic circles. People walked past it. Nobody noticed. Nobody ever notices the important stuff. When I picked it back up, there was a video waiting. I didn't want to watch it. Every instinct I had told me not to. But curiosity is a disease, and I've always had it bad. The video was shaky, filmed vertically. A street lamp flickered overhead. The camera tilted down. It was my apartment hallway. Not the front door. The inside hallway. The one that only Jason and I should ever be in. The camera moved closer to my bedroom door. Then a hand entered the frame. My hand. Same chipped nail on the thumb. Same scar across the knuckle from when I punched a locker in high school because I was an idiot. The hand knocked twice on the door. From behind the camera, my voice spoke. Calm, soft, familiar. "Open up," it said. "I know you're in there." The video cut. I don't remember how long I stood there after that. Minutes, an hour. The sun was starting to go down by the time I moved again. Everything felt unreal, like I was watching my life through a cracked screen. I didn't go back to the apartment. I took a lift to the other side of the city and checked into a cheap motel that smelled like bleach and old cigarettes. The kind of place where the carpet sticks to your shoes and the TV is permanently set to Spanish soap operas. I paid cash. Fake name. Didn't sleep. Around 3:17 a.m., the TV turned on by itself. Static first. Then an image. A black screen with white text, identical to the site. Mirrored. Mercy. Operator feed. A face faded into view. Mine. But wrong. The lighting was off, casting shadows that made his cheekbones look sharper, his eyes deeper, like his skull didn't quite fit his skin. He was sitting somewhere dark, maybe a basement, maybe a room with no windows. I couldn't tell. The background felt infinite, like he wasn't in a place so much as between places. He smiled slowly. "You look tired," he said. I remember that part. I couldn't speak. My throat locked up completely. My body felt like it was vibrating apart. He leaned closer to the camera. "Don't worry. This won't be messy. I hate when it's messy." I finally found my voice. It came out cracked, barely louder than a whisper. "Why?" I asked. "What is this?" He tilted his head, the exact same way he had outside Starbucks. "Because you volunteered." "I didn't," I said. "I never." "You did," he interrupted. "Just not here." The screen glitched, then split in two. On the left, him, the operator, SYN/ME. On the right, footage I didn't recognize at first. It was a city, familiar, but off. The skyline was wrong. Taller buildings where there shouldn't be any. A McDonald's logo flickering blue instead of yellow. A Starbucks with the old siren logo that hasn't been used in years. "This is my timeline," he said casually. "Or what's left of it." The footage cut to a news clip. A reporter standing in front of police tape. The Chiron read, "Mass casualty event. Loop failure. Confirmed." Then another clip. Another. Riots. Fires. Military trucks rolling down streets I recognized from Google Maps, but twisted, broken, like someone had bent reality just enough to snap it. "You don't exist there," he continued. "Not anymore. You died early. Car accident. Drunk driver. I lived." He smiled again. "And living with that knowledge does things to you." The footage changed one last time. It showed a room. White walls. A chair in the center. Someone tied to it. I leaned closer to the screen, heart hammering. The person in the chair was me. Not him. Not operator me. Me. Same hoodie. Same face. Same terrified expression I knew I was making right now. He was gagged. Bruised. Eyes red from crying. The operator watched my reaction with obvious interest. "Different branches," he said. "Sometimes we get lucky. Sometimes we don't. But the rule stays the same." He leaned back. "One version survives. The rest are excess." The TV shut off. The room went dark. My phone buzzed again. Countdown. 0, 6, 12, 44. I don't know how long I sat there in the dark, listening to my own breathing, waiting for the door handle to turn. Every sound outside, footsteps, the car door slamming, someone laughing, felt like the end. At 5:58 a.m., someone knocked. 2 knocks, just like in the video. I didn't answer. The knocking stopped. Then, right against the door, my voice whispered, "I know how this ends. I'm writing this now because the countdown just hit 5 hours, because I found something hidden in the motel bathroom vent, a tiny camera, still warm, because the operator made one mistake. He thinks I'm the prey, but if he's me, then he knows what I'm capable of when I'm cornered. The rules didn't arrive all at once. They came in pieces, like fragments of glass embedded under my skin, working their way out whenever I moved the wrong way. After the knocking stopped, I didn't sleep. I sat on the edge of the motel bed with the lights on, shoes still laced, jacket zipped to my chin. I kept the TV muted, showing some early morning cartoon marathon that felt obscene against the silence in the room. Every few minutes, I checked the door chain. Every few seconds, I checked my phone. 4:41:09. I knew he wouldn't rush it. The operator liked pacing, control. If he really was me, then he understood something fundamental. Anticipation hurts more than impact. Around sunrise, the motel Wi-Fi connected by itself. No password entered, no prompt. A browser window opened on my phone. Mirrored. Mercy. Operator guidelines. Below it, a list began to scroll. Rule 1. You may run. A pause. Then more text appeared. Running increases engagement. Engagement increases clarity. Clarity determines which version is strongest. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my body didn't know what else to do. The sound came out wrong. Sharp, broken, like I was choking on it. Rule 2. You may not hide. Obscurity is not concealment. We see through borrowed names, borrowed faces, borrowed walls. As if to prove the point, the motel room phone rang. I stared at it for a long time before answering. There was no voice on the other end, just breathing, slow, steady, patient. I hung up. Rule 3. Do not involve authorities. They are variables. Variables are removed. Underneath that line was an image, a still photo, grainy, taken from far away. It showed a police cruiser parked outside a convenience store. Yellow tape stretched across the entrance. A Starbucks cup lay tipped over near the curb, dark liquid bleeding across the concrete. I recognized the place. It was 3 blocks from the motel. Rule 4. Contact is permitted. Conversation accelerates convergence. A chat box appeared. A cursor blinked. I didn't type. The cursor blinked faster. Then text appeared anyway. Sin me. You always hesitate here. Me. Where is here? Sin me. The moment where you realize this isn't about survival. I felt that pressure again. The sense that my thoughts weren't private anymore. That something was reading me in real time, flipping through my head like a manual. Me. Then what is it about? The response took longer this time. Sin me. Editing. The browser switched tabs without my input. A map loaded. Not Google Maps. Something similar, but stripped down. Black background, white lines. No labels except one. A pulsing red dot. My location. Other dots began to appear. Dozens of them. Hundreds. Each labeled with a timestamp. Terminated. 0. Terminated. 0. Terminated. 0. I zoomed out, my fingers trembling. The dots weren't just in the US. They were everywhere. Paris, Tokyo, São Paulo. A cluster near Disneyland in Anaheim. Another around Universal Studios, Florida. Tourist places. Loud places. Places where people disappear into crowds and nobody asks questions. Me. Those are us? Sin me. Versions. Forks. Mistakes. Another message popped up beneath it. Sin me. You should feel special. You lasted longer than most. My phone buzzed again. Countdown. 0, 3:19:22. The motel room started to feel smaller, like the walls were inching inward. I packed what little I had, the burner phone charger, my wallet, a hoodie I didn't care about losing. Before I left, I checked the bathroom one last time. That's when I noticed the mirror. There was writing on it. Not scratched, not written in steam, written backward, on the other side. I leaned closer, my breath fogging the glass. The letters lined up perfectly when I looked at my reflection. Stop pretending you're not curious. I stumbled back, my heel catching on the edge of the tub. I almost fell. Behind me, the bathroom vent rattled softly. Something inside it shifted. I didn't wait to see what. I left through the side door and walked until my legs burned. I cut through a strip mall, past a closed McDonald's with flickering lights, the golden arches buzzing like they were shorting out. In the drive-through lane, a car sat idling with no one inside. The radio was on, playing some upbeat pop song, the kind you hear 1,000 times a day without listening. The song skipped, then played backward. I kept walking. By the time I reached the bus station, my countdown was under 2 hours. I blended in, or tried to. Hood up, head down. I watched reflections instead of faces. Windows, screens, polished floors. Anyone could have been him. Everyone felt wrong. That's when I saw the screen above the ticket counter. Local news, breaking footage. A man had been found dead in a public restroom at Union Station. No ID, no signs of struggle. Just a mirror shattered inward, glass embedded in the walls like it had exploded from the reflection. They showed a blurred photo. Even blurred, I recognized the jacket, the shoes, the face, my face. The crowd around me murmured. Someone made a joke. Someone else shook their head and went back to scrolling. I understood then. He wasn't just hunting me. He was cleaning up. Every version that got too close to the truth. Every version that tried to stop him. Every version that thought they were the exception. My phone buzzed one last time. Sin me. Lost rule. The text appeared slowly, letter by letter. Rule 5. Only one of us gets to be real. The countdown hit 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. And for the first time since this started, I felt something other than fear. I felt recognition, because deep down, beneath the terror, beneath the running and hiding and pretending this was happening to me, I knew exactly what he was going to do next. And worse, I knew exactly how I would do it too. Convergence is coming. If I disappear before then, you'll know why. Time stopped feeling linear after that. The last hour didn't tick down like a clock. It folded. It bent in on itself. Moments stretched long enough to suffocate inside, then snap shut so suddenly I'd forget what I'd been thinking mid-thought. The bus station felt like a liminal space. Not a place you exist in, just a place you pass through on the way to something worse. I kept my head down and moved with the crowd when they moved. Every digital screen felt hostile now. Departure boards, advertisements, phones in strangers' hands. Any one of them could light up with my face, with his face, with instructions. That's when my phone went dark. Not powered off, not dead. Dark. No signal bars, no battery icon. Just black glass reflecting my own eyes back at me. For a split second, I thought that was it. That he'd finally cut the feed. That I'd stepped outside the game. Then the reflection blinked. My reflection smiled. The glass rippled like disturbed water, and text bled through the black. Convergence point. Selected the screen changed again. A live video feed, not of me, of a place. I recognized it immediately, even though I'd only been there once in my life, years ago, on a family trip I barely remembered because my parents were fighting the whole time. An amusement park, not one of the big name ones, not Disney or Universal. One of those older parks that feels like it's always on the edge of shutting down. Rusted rides, faded mascots, neon signs flickering even in daylight. The name appeared at the bottom of the screen. Lakeview Funland. It was in a different state, hundreds of miles away. Send me. You loved this place. I didn't remember loving it. I remembered crying in a bathroom stall because my dad hadn't shown up that morning like he promised. I remembered the smell of grease and sugar and lake water. I remembered mirrors in the fun house that warped my face into something ugly and unrecognizable. Me. Why there? The reply came instantly. Sin, me. Because convergence requires symmetry. The feed zoomed in. The funhouse. Its entrance was still painted with smiling faces, the paint cracked and peeling, eyes too wide, mouths frozen in laughter. The doors were open. Inside, the lights were on. Countdown. 0, 0, 32, 11. I don't remember deciding to go. I just remember being on a bus, then another, then standing at a gas station bathroom, washing my face with water that smelled like metal, staring at myself in a mirror that felt wrong. My reflection lagged by half a second. When I raised my hand, it followed just a beat too late. I whispered, "Stop." It didn't. By the time I reached Lakeview, the sun was setting. The parking lot was nearly empty. A few cars scattered like abandoned thoughts. The Ferris wheel creaked slowly, empty gondolas swaying in the wind. Somewhere, a distorted version of children's music played on a loop, too slow, like a lullaby played at the wrong speed. My phone buzzed. Countdown. 0, 0, 9:58. The gates were unlocked. That should have terrified me. Instead, it felt expected. Every step inside the park made my skin crawl. Cameras perched where lights should have been. Old speakers crackled with static that sounded almost like whispers if you didn't listen too hard. The funhouse loomed ahead. As I approached, the mirrors inside began to light up one by one. Each mirror showed me, but not the same me. Different clothes, different hair, different scars. One version older, one younger, one smiling, one crying, one with blood on his hands, one with dead eyes that matched the operator's perfectly. They all watched me walk. The door slammed shut behind me. The countdown vanished. Silence. Then clapping. Slow. Deliberate. Echoing through the maze of mirrors. He stepped into view between two reflections. Up close, the differences were subtle, but undeniable. His posture was straighter, his expression calmer. There was something hollow about him, like a house stripped of furniture. "Don't flinch," he said. "I remember how loud your heart gets." "You killed them," I said. My voice didn't feel like mine anymore. "All of them." He shrugged. "They were echoes. Noise." He gestured around us. "This is where it always ends, where the signal stabilizes." "What happens if you win?" I asked. He smiled. "I already did." The mirrors around us began to crack, not shatter, breathe. Hairline fractures spread like veins, pulsing faintly with light. I felt pressure in my head, memories that weren't mine forcing their way in. Lives I'd never lived, choices I'd never made, regrets layered on regrets until I couldn't tell which ones belonged to me. He stepped closer. "You think you're fighting me," he said softly, "but you're just catching up." The floor lurched. The mirrors exploded inward. and for one infinite second, I was everywhere at once. Running, dying, screaming, hiding, watching. Then it collapsed. I don't know how long I was on the floor afterward. My ears rang. My mouth tasted like copper. The funhouse was dark now. Lights shattered. Mirrors reduced to jagged fragments that reflected nothing. He was gone. My phone lay beside me. The screen lit up. Status: active. Operator: send me. Reality confirmed. Below it, a final message appeared. Welcome back. I stood up slowly. The reflection in the nearest shard of glass stood up with me. But it wasn't matching me anymore. It was waiting. I didn't walk out of the funhouse. I reset out of it. That's the only word that fits. One moment, I was standing among broken glass and dead reflections. The next, I was outside, night air on my skin, the park lights humming like nothing had happened. No alarms, no police, no screaming headlines. Just an empty amusement park, pretending it had never swallowed anyone whole. My phone said it was 6:12 a.m. Sunrise. Birds chirping. Normal sounds. Normal world. That was the most disturbing part of all. The screen showed no countdown anymore. No warnings. No chat box. Just a single line of text pulsing gently, like a heartbeat. Operation complete. Below it, smaller text. Role. Primary instance. I laughed again. Same broken sound as before. I pressed my fingers into my face until my eyes watered, just to feel something real. Parking lot was still mostly empty, but one car sat near the exit. Engine running. Headlights on. I knew without thinking whose car it was. I didn't approach it. I didn't need to. The driver's side window rolled down by itself. Inside, the seat was empty. On the dashboard sat a phone identical to mine. It buzzed once. I walked away. I hitchhiked into town with a guy who smelled like energy drinks and desperation. He talked the whole way about crypto losses and his ex who blocked him on Instagram. I nodded at the right moments, my reflection in the passenger window lagging just enough to notice. When he dropped me off at a 24-hour McDonald's, I sat in a booth under flickering fluorescent lights and watched people eat breakfast like the world hadn't just folded in on itself. A kid spilled orange juice. A woman laughed too loud at her phone. Someone complained about their order. I ordered coffee, black. The cashier asked for my name. I almost told her the wrong one. I caught myself at the last second. As I waited, the TV above the counter switched to the news. There was a brief segment, barely 30 seconds, about a string of unidentified deaths across multiple countries. No details, just faces blurred, locations vaguely referenced. The anchor moved on quickly, like it wasn't worth dwelling on. I recognized every blurred silhouette. My phone buzzed again. A new app had appeared. No icon, just text. Mirror. Against my better judgment, I opened it. A camera feed loaded. Not live. Archived. Thousands of clips. Moments. Endings. Versions of me in places I'd never been, doing things I couldn't remember. Some running. Some pleading. Some calm in a way that made my skin crawl. At the bottom of the list, a new file appeared. Instance 6890. Active. I locked the phone and shoved it into my pocket. I didn't finish the coffee. I didn't go back to my apartment. Jason texted me later, asking where I'd gone. Said the place was a mess, like someone had been searching for something specific. I didn't reply. I bought new clothes, a new phone, a cheap laptop from a guy selling electronics out of his trunk in a Walmart parking lot. I paid cash, always cash. I tried to live small. That was the mistake. 3 days later, I noticed the cracks. A TikTok video auto-played on a loop. A guy telling a story about seeing himself on the subway. The comments were full of jokes. RG theories. Bro needs sleep. I scrolled past too fast. An Instagram reel showed a mirror prank. The reflection moved wrong. The creator laughed it off. At night, I dreamed in fragments. Not nightmares. Memories. Things I hadn't lived, but somehow remembered. Standing over someone and feeling nothing. Watching a version of myself die and feeling relief. Typing calmly while a countdown hit 0. I started finishing other people's sentences. Predicting traffic lights. Knowing when someone was about to look at me before they did. I checked the mirror app again. New clips were being added. Not of me running. Of me watching. Of me waiting. The final confirmation came in the most mundane way possible. I was in a Starbucks, different city this time, working on this very post, when a guy across from me dropped his phone. It skidded across the floor and bumped into my shoe. I picked it up to hand it back. The lock screen lit up. The wallpaper was a photo of me, not taken secretly, posed, looking directly at the camera. I froze. The guy looked up at me, confused. "That's not," he started. His phone buzzed in my hand. A notification slid across the screen. Mirror. Potential fork detected. I handed the phone back without a word and left before he could say anything else. I understand it now. There was never just one operator. There was a process, a selection, a refining. Every version that survived long enough learned the same lesson. Reality doesn't tolerate duplicates, so it chooses. And the chosen doesn't get peace. They get responsibility. I'm still posting this because I remember what it felt like to be on the other side of the screen, to read stories like this and feel that cold curiosity coil in your stomach, the urge to test it, to look deeper, to see if it's real. Don't. If you ever find a site that feels too clean, too personal, too interested in you, close it. If you ever see yourself somewhere you shouldn't be, look away, because somewhere out there, another version of you is wondering the same thing I once did. And if the system decides you're excess, I'll know. The Mirror app just updated again. There's a new role listed now. Recruiter. If this account goes silent after today, it doesn't mean I died. It means I finally stopped pretending I was the victim. And if you're reading this and something about it feels uncomfortably familiar, check your reflections. I might already be watching. I paid for a dark web game where you play as a hitman. 3 days later, someone sent me a screenshot of me in real life, labeled target acquired. Yo, so I don't really know how to start this without sounding completely insane. I'm not trying to go viral, and this isn't for attention or clout or whatever. I just need someone, anyone, to tell me I'm not the only one who's seen this kind of shioti before. Let me back up a bit. My name's Tyler. I'm 23, and I live in a pretty normal apartment in Orlando, not far from that giant McDonald's off International Drive, the one that's like 2 floors and has an arcade inside. I used to work at the Starbucks across from the Universal Studios entrance. So if you've ever been there and had a barista spell your name as Tyler with an I, yeah, that was probably me. Anyway, like a lot of dudes my age, I spend way too much time on Reddit and YouTube, especially the scary story channels. You know the ones. I found a phone in the woods and it only had one video on it. Or My best friend joined a cult, and I think I'm next. I live for that stuff. So when I stumbled on a Discord server a few months ago dedicated to real dark web stories, I was hooked instantly. Now before you roll your eyes, yes, I know 90% of that stuff is fake. Kids LARPing like they're in some edgy ARG. But this server was different. It wasn't public. I got invited after posting a comment under a YouTube animated horror video from that Here's My Story channel. The guy who messaged me had a burner account, no profile pic, username like QX7X8, something like that. He sent me a private invite and just said, only join if you're not gonna fuck around. This isn't for views. So obviously, I joined. The server was called /null/proxy/. The moment I got in, I knew I was in some different territory. There were no general chats, no memes, just 7 channels, all locked except one, number entry. And in that channel was a single message pinned, welcome to Null Proxy. Do not ask questions. Do not send messages unless instructed. The game finds you. Creepy? Yeah, but also kind of sick. I figured it was like some ARG thing with a spooky spin, until 3 weeks later, when I got the DM that changed everything. It came at 3:17 a.m. I was doom scrolling TikTok in bed, headphones in, when I felt the buzz from Discord. It was from a bot account I'd never seen before, with a name like @GRIDSYSTEM.exe. The message was plain. You've been selected. Objective. Prove your skill. Accept to play as an operator or be auto-assigned as a target. 60 seconds to choose. Accept. Decline. Now listen. I should have closed my phone, turned off Discord, maybe even deleted the app and gone back to playing League or something. But I didn't. Because like an idiot, I thought it was just part of the game. I tapped accept. The message disappeared. Then a new one popped up with a link. Not a regular one, a .onion address. If you don't know, that's dark web territory. I had Tor installed. Don't judge. I used it to watch region-locked anime and okay, I maybe tried to buy bootleg sneakers once, so I copy-pasted the link. It loaded slowly. Pure black screen. Then white text. Operator mode. Engaged. Simulation. Active target. ID. Number A3408. Location. Berlin Hauptbahnhof Station. Weapon kit. Knife / camera. Drone / burner sim. Objective. Infiltrate and execute. Reward. $4,000 in BTC. Status. Live. I sat up in bed, blinking at my screen like, what the actual hell is this? At first, I thought it was some kind of weird role-play sim, like those old text-based games. But then a new video feed popped up on the screen. Real footage. A man in a hoodie was walking through Berlin's train station, time-stamped in real time. There were other elements. A menu bar where you could choose between observe, plan, and execute. I clicked observe. The drone camera shifted, gliding silently above the man like something out of Watch Dogs. There were audio logs in the corner of the screen, ambient street noise, people speaking German. I could see the man glance up every now and then, as if paranoid. I hovered over execute. A pop-up asked for confirmation. It said, real target, real world. This is not a simulation. Confirm if you understand the risk. So naturally, I chickened out. I closed the browser, uninstalled Tor, and told myself, okay, maybe it's some elaborate prank. Maybe it's some deep fake ARG where they use real locations and actors. I mean, people do wild shit with CGI now, right? I left it alone. Until 3 days later, I was on my lunch break, sitting in my car behind the Starbucks I used to work at, watching a Luna video on my phone. It was the one where he talked about his sketchy friend who bought acid from a guy in a Taco Bell bathroom. You know the one. That's when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No message. Just an image. I clicked it. It was a blurry black and white still from what looked like security footage. You ever see those infrared parking lot cams? Like that. Except it was me. It was from 3 nights ago. I was in my room, sitting at my desk, watching the Berlin feed on my monitor. In the bottom right corner of the photo, written in bold white font, was just one phrase: Target acquired. I locked my phone and just sat there, heart thumping. Every hair on my body felt like it was trying to escape. It wasn't a joke. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I started keeping my blinds shut, taping over the webcam on my laptop, even unplugging my smart TV. Call me paranoid, but if someone could send me a screenshot of myself from a night I never even recorded, I didn't know what else to do. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? My roommates are college guys who think everything's a prank. And going to the police? What would I even say? Yeah, officer. I clicked a button on a fake Hitman game, and now I'm the target. I stopped using Discord. I deleted my account, changed my number, even factory reset my phone. But last night, the drone came back. Yeah, I heard it. This low mechanical buzz outside my window at 3:12 a.m. I peeked through the blinds. Just a small dot hovering above the alley behind our building. I could swear it turned, faced me, then zipped away into the dark. There was a new scratch on my window this morning, like someone drew an X with a knife. I think this game isn't over. I think it's only just beginning. The first thing I noticed after the drone incident was how quiet the world suddenly felt, like someone had taken reality and turned the volume knob just slightly too low. Cars still passed outside my apartment. People still laughed in the hallway. My roommates still argued about whose turn it was to buy toilet paper, but none of it reached me the same way anymore. Everything sounded fake, buffered, like I was watching my own life through a cracked screen. I didn't go to work the next day, or the day after that. I told my manager I had COVID. He sent a thumbs up emoji and told me to feel better, which somehow made everything worse. I stayed inside, lights off, curtains drawn, phone face down on the desk, like it was a loaded gun. Every vibration made my chest seize. Every notification felt like a countdown. What terrified me most wasn't the idea that someone wanted me dead. It was the certainty that someone was watching me decide what to do about it. Late that night, I finally cracked. I powered my laptop back on. I told myself I was just checking something harmless, like Google Maps or Reddit, just to feel normal again. My hands were shaking so badly, I mistyped my password twice. When the desktop finally loaded, there was a new folder sitting right in the middle of the screen. I didn't create it. The folder name was just a timestamp. Yesterday's date, 3:12 a.m. I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. Inside were 6 files, 5 images, 1 video. The first image was taken from above, a top-down angle of my apartment complex parking lot. I recognized my car immediately. A dent on the rear bumper, faded sticker from a music festival I went to years ago. The second image zoomed in on my bedroom window. The blinds were half closed, exactly how I'd left them. The third image showed me, not clearly, just enough. I was sitting at my desk, hunched forward, hands on my head. The glow of the monitor reflected off my face, making my eyes look hollow. Wrong. The timestamp in the corner read 03/12/07. I didn't remember that photo being taken. I didn't remember anything being that close to me. I clicked the video. It was 10 seconds long. No sound. Grainy night vision footage. The camera floated just outside my window, steady and patient. For the first few seconds, nothing happened. Then slowly, my bedroom door creaked open behind me. Just an inch. Enough to show darkness beyond. I didn't react in the video. I didn't turn around. I didn't flinch. Because I was wearing headphones that night. I never heard it. The video ended with a single frame of text burned into the screen. Observation complete. Compliance pending. I threw up into my trash can and sat on the floor for what felt like hours, hugging my knees, rocking like a kid. My brain kept trying to rationalize it. Roommates, prank, some elaborate stalker, but none of it fit. My roommates had been asleep. I checked their locations obsessively, and even if someone had broken in, how did they know exactly where to look? How did they know what time to come? How did they know I wouldn't notice? The answer hit me like ice water. They knew because they'd already tested me. I wasn't the first target. At 6:44 a.m., my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't an image. It was a message. You failed the operator trial, defaulting to target status. But you're interesting, so we're giving you a choice. Below that, another .onion link. I didn't want to click it. I swear I didn't. But there's something about fear that makes you do stupid things. Fear doesn't ask for permission. It just moves your finger for you. The site loaded instantly this time, like it had been waiting. The interface was different, cleaner, more professional. On the left side of the screen was a list of usernames. Some were crossed out in red, others were highlighted in green. Next to each name was a number, a score. I recognized one of the crossed out names. It was the guy who invited me to the Discord server. When I clicked his profile, a video auto-played. It showed a gas station bathroom, yellow tile, flickering fluorescent lights. The man was tied to a chair, duct tape over his mouth, eyes swollen and frantic. The camera didn't move. Whoever was filming didn't speak. They didn't need to. The man started crying on his own. The video cut out before anything explicit happened, but I didn't need to see more. Under the video was a caption, inactive target, error, self-termination, attempt failed, resolution applied. I scrolled down, hands numb. There was a chat window beneath it. People were commenting, not cheering, not laughing, analyzing. Too sloppy. Should have checked his devices first. Waste of a clean setup. Operator hesitation ruins immersion. These weren't edgy teenagers. These were calm, detached voices. People who talked about human beings, the way gamers talk about NPCs. And suddenly, I understood something that made my stomach twist. This wasn't about money. This was about control. A new message appeared in the corner of the screen, addressed directly to me. You can still play, or you can be played. I scrolled further and found my own profile. Username, unassigned status, love below. It was a list of details I never gave anyone. My full name, my date of birth, my Starbucks employee ID from 2 years ago, the name of my first pet, a screenshot of my Instagram profile, followed by a screenshot of my private messages, including drafts I never sent, and at the bottom, current location, verified threat level, moderate viewer, count, 14, viewer count. I wasn't just being hunted, I was being watched. That's when the rules appeared. Not terms and conditions, not legal nonsense. Rules. Rule 1, Targets who attempt to involve authorities escalate their difficulty rating. Rule 2. Targets who flee extend the game duration. Rule 3. Targets who comply may earn operator reinstatement. Rule 4. Targets who entertain the audience survive longer. I laughed when I read that last one. I actually laughed out loud, hysterical and broken, because what the hell does that even mean? The answer came an hour later. I was sitting in my car, parked behind a McDonald's on the edge of town, trying to decide whether to just keep driving until I ran out of road. My phone lit up with a live notification. Stream. Starting. Target POV. My phone camera turned on by itself. I watched my own face appear on the screen, pale and sweating, eyes darting around the empty parking lot. Comments started flooding in almost immediately. Look at him shake. He knows. $10. He checks the mirror again. Smile for us. I dropped the phone like it burned me. Across the parking lot, near the dumpster, something moved. Just a shape. Just a shadow. But it raised its hand slowly, deliberately, and waved. I didn't wave back. I slammed the car into drive and peeled out onto the road, heart hammering so hard I thought it might kill me before they ever could. As I sped past a glowing Starbucks sign, then a Walmart, then the familiar neon blur of civilization, one thought kept looping in my head, louder than anything else. This isn't about killing me. It's about seeing how long I can be broken before I beg to play. And the worst part? A small, sick voice in the back of my mind whispered that somewhere, someone was smiling. Because I was doing exactly what they wanted. I don't know how much longer I can keep running. And I don't know what happens when the viewer count goes up. The night they finally spoke to me directly, it wasn't through text. It was my voice. I was sitting on the floor of a motel room, off I-95, the kind with cigarette burns in the carpet, and a Bible bolted to the nightstand. I'd paid cash. I'd kept my hood up. I'd parked my car 2 blocks away, like that mattered anymore. The TV was on mute, playing some late-night cartoon rerun, bright colors flickering against walls that smelled like bleach and old sweat. I was halfway through convincing myself I could just disappear, burn everything, smash my phone, walk into the woods, when the TV volume jumped to max on its own, not static, my own voice, calm, clear, recorded. If you're hearing this, you're still breathing. That's good. That means you're learning. I froze. Every muscle locked so tight, my teeth started chattering. The camera on the TV, something I didn't even know it had, clicked, adjusted, zoomed. I could see myself reflected faintly in the black of the screen. A hunted animal, eyes too wide, skin too pale. Then the screen cut to black. White text appeared, slow and deliberate, like someone savoring every letter. Entertainment phase. Initiated, a new window slid open, familiar now in the worst possible way. Viewer count climbing. Comments already rolling in, stacked on top of each other like ants. Finally. Thought he'd break sooner. Let's see if he's got teeth. Give him something simple first. A map appeared. Not my location. Someone else's. A blue dot pulsed over a city I recognized immediately. Las Vegas. Just off the strip, near one of those 24-hour convenience stores, wedged between a McDonald's and a pawn shop. The kind of place tourists wander into, drunk at 2 a.m., thinking they're safe because there are lights. A profile opened beside it. No name, just images. A man in his late 30s, tired eyes, grease-stained uniform, a wedding ring, photos scraped from Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn. Him smiling beside a kid at a Little League game. Him holding a Starbucks cup in one hand, phone in the other, unaware he was being catalogued like an insect pinned to cork. My chest tightened. I typed without thinking. "What is this?" The response was instant. "A mirror." Another message followed. "You don't get to choose the role anymore. You get to choose the outcome." Task appeared beneath it. Not graphic, not detailed. Worse. Task. Deliver proof of proximity. Time limit. 90 minutes. Failure. Result. Target termination. You. That was it. No weapon. No violence instructions. Just proximity. Just proof. My phone buzzed. GPS activated itself. A rideshare app opened on its own. Destination already set. The driver's profile loaded. Smiling photo. 5-star rating. I didn't remember ordering it. I remember laughing again. That hollow, hysterical sound. I remember saying out loud to no one, "You people are sick." The comment feed exploded. "Say it louder." "He's moral. Cute. Morality is a mechanic." TikTok. I don't remember the drive very well. I remember neon lights streaking past the window. I remember the driver humming along to the radio, completely unaware he was a background character in something monstrous. I remember thinking about how many times I'd stood in line at a McDonald's at 1 a.m., scrolling my phone, trusting the light overhead like it meant safety. When the car stopped, my phone buzzed again. "You are close." The convenience store was exactly how you'd imagine. Buzzing fluorescent lights, a flickering ATM, the smell of burnt coffee and hot dogs that had been rolling too long. The man from the profile was behind the counter, counting change. Shoulders slumped like gravity, hit him harder than everyone else. I stood outside, just beyond the reach of the lights. My reflection stared back at me in the glass. The chat was relentless now. "Go on. Just stand there. He's already done worse in his head. Wave." My hands were shaking so badly, I shoved them into my pockets to hide it. I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to look at him, but I wanted to live. So I stepped forward. The bell above the door rang. He looked up and smiled automatically. "Hey, how's it going?" That was the worst part. He was kind. I bought a bottle of water I didn't need. I stood there for 30 seconds. That felt like 30 years. My phone vibrated once in my pocket. I didn't have to look to know what it was. I left without saying anything else. Back outside, my phone screen lit up with a single image. A photo taken from across the street. Me, standing inside the store. The man behind the counter blurred in the background. A green check mark stamped across the image. Task complete. I slid down the side of the building and threw up onto the pavement. My whole body felt contaminated, like something had crawled inside me and made a nest. The comment slowed, satisfied. "See? Easy. First bite's always the hardest. He'll do more." That's when the message came that broke something in me permanently. "You understand now. We don't need you to kill. We need you to participate." A new stat appeared on my profile. Compliance. 12%. Then another line. Almost affectionate. And the more you resist, the more creative we get. I didn't go back to the motel. I drove until sunrise, until the sky turned that sickly gray pink that makes everything look unreal. I parked in an empty lot behind a closed Starbucks somewhere in Arizona and sat there, hands locked around the steering wheel, whispering, I didn't hurt him, over and over like a prayer. But deep down, I knew the truth. I crossed a line. And once you cross it, they don't need to force you anymore. They just watch. Because in their game, the most disturbing part isn't what they make you do to others. It's what they make you become while you're trying to survive. Time stopped meaning anything after that. Days blurred together, not because I slept, but because sleep stopped being safe. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt watched from the inside, like something had memorized my breathing pattern and was waiting for the exact second my guard dropped. I started napping in 10-minute fragments, engine running, radio on low, parked in places with cameras and lights, gas stations, hospital lots, airports. I figured if I stayed where people should be watching, maybe whatever was watching me would hesitate. It didn't. The first sign that the rules had changed came in the form of silence. No notifications, no messages, no viewer count. For almost a full day, nothing happened. That should have felt like relief. Instead, it felt like standing in a forest after the birds stopped singing. The kind of quiet that tells you a predator is close enough to hear your heart. I was sitting in my car outside a 24-hour diner in Flagstaff, snow piled up in gray slush along the curb, when my phone screen turned black. Not powered off, black. Then a single line of text appeared. Dead center. You've been promoted. I didn't touch the screen, didn't breathe. Another line followed. Operator status. Provisional. My stomach dropped so hard, it felt like my organs shifted. I whispered, "No," like that mattered. The interface came back, but it was different again. No comments, no chat, just objectives. Clean, cold, surgical. Phase 2 begins without consent. Below that, a live video feed opened. It took me a second to understand what I was looking at. A daycare playground, bright colors, tiny plastic slides, chalk drawings on cracked concrete, kids bundled in winter coats, running in chaotic little orbits, screaming and laughing and existing in the most terrifying way possible. Carefree. I felt my chest tighten painfully. A red outline pulsed around one figure on the screen. Not a child. An adult. A woman standing near the fence, scrolling her phone, coffee cup in hand, oversized scarf. Normal. Boring. Someone you'd pass without ever remembering her face. A label appeared next to her. A SSET. Another line. Smaller. Leverage. Only. My hands were numb. I tried to swipe the app closed. It didn't respond. I tried to shut the phone off. It vibrated once, hard, like a warning. Then text appeared again. You're not a monster. That's why this works. The feed zoomed slightly, tightening on the woman's face as she laughed at something on her phone. I realized, with a sick lurch, that the angle wasn't fixed. It was adjusting, tracking. A new window opened beside the video. A list of tasks populated one by one, like bullets loading into a magazine. Not violent, administrative, mundane. Task 1, confirm routine. Task 2, identify exit paths. Task 3, maintain presence. That's when I understood. They weren't asking me to hurt anyone. They were teaching me how to prepare, how to see people as shapes, patterns, habits, how to strip the humanity off without touching it. I slammed my fist into the steering wheel and screamed until my throat burned. People inside the diner stared through the window, confused. Someone mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded. Because what else do you do? I left Flagstaff before sunset. The app stayed open the whole drive, quietly tracking, logging, learning. Every time I stopped, it stopped. Every time I moved, it followed. I didn't even bother trying to escape it anymore. You don't fight a shadow by running faster. That night, they escalated. No warning, no countdown. I was walking through a grocery store in Albuquerque, fluorescent lights humming overhead, when my phone buzzed once. Task update. I glanced down. The camera was on, front-facing. My face filled the screen, eyes sunken, lips cracked, beard uneven from days without caring. A red rectangle snapped into place around my head. Then another rectangle appeared, behind me, reflected in the freezer door glass. A man, standing too close. I hadn't noticed him. The app zoomed in automatically, sharpening the reflection. He was older, rough, the kind of guy you instinctively clock and then ignore. Hoodie up, hands in pockets. A line of text appeared at the bottom of the screen. Threat, unrelated. I almost laughed. Almost. Another line followed. Opportunity. Live. I stopped walking. So did the man behind me. The freezer hummed. Somewhere down the aisle, a kid cried. A cashier laughed at something her coworker said. Normal life. The app highlighted the man's hands, then highlighted the security camera above us, then highlighted me. Do nothing. Observe. I stood there for nearly a full minute, heart pounding so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. The man shifted his weight, scratched his arm. Eventually, he walked away, pushing a cart full of beer and frozen dinners. The rectangles disappeared. My phone vibrated once. Good discipline. I dropped the basket I was holding and left the store without buying anything. In the parking lot, I slid down against my car and pressed my forehead to the cold metal, breathing in short, broken gasps. I wasn't relieved. I was terrified of how easy it had been. That night, in a cheap motel room with peeling wallpaper and a flickering exit sign outside the window, the final message of the day arrived. No threats, no objectives, just a statement. You see it now. Violence is inefficient. Anticipation is art. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned, because somewhere between the diner and the daycare and the freezer aisle, something inside me had shifted. I didn't feel hunted anymore. I felt trained. And whatever they were building me into, whatever shape they were carving out of my fear and compliance, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. They weren't preparing me to die. They were preparing me to be useful. The last lesson didn't arrive with a notification. It arrived as a calendar reminder. I noticed it while scrolling aimlessly through my phone one morning, sitting in a crowded airport terminal with a dead phone charger and a lukewarm coffee from a kiosk that charged too much because it could. Between a dentist appointment I never scheduled and a spam invite to a Facebook event I didn't recognize, there it was. Rehearsal, 9 p.m. No location, no description, just a small red dot, like it had been there for a while. I didn't delete it. I didn't even question it. That's how far gone I was. The app hadn't shown itself in days. No tasks, no feeds, no messages, just silence again. The heavy, watching kind. I'd almost convinced myself that maybe this was the end. Maybe I'd passed whatever test they were running. Maybe I was free to fade back into being just another guy in a crowd, invisible and forgettable. Then my phone buzzed at 8:59 p.m. One vibration. The screen lit up on its own. Rehearsal begins. Now a map open. Not a city this time. A building. Familiar. Too familiar. My old apartment complex. The one I'd run from weeks ago. The one with the alley behind it. The one with my bedroom window. My mouth went dry. I looked up from my phone instinctively, like I expected to see the building materialize around me. Instead, I was still in the terminal, surrounded by strangers dragging suitcases, arguing with gate agents, living their small, loud, ordinary lives. The app didn't care. The map zoomed in. Floor plans appeared. Hallways, stairwells, blind spots, camera coverage, color-coded. Little icons pulsed where people were. Neighbors, roommates, names attached like tags in a game. And then, at the center of it all, a blinking marker. ME. Not my current location. The last known version of me that still mattered to them. A message appeared, different from the others. Slower. Almost patient. You thought you were being hunted. You thought survival was the prize. Another line followed. Survival was the audition. The truth hit me in pieces, each one colder than the last. I was never meant to die. Targets were easy. Targets burned out fast. Targets screamed, ran, made mistakes. Targets were content. Operators lasted longer. But even operators were disposable. What they needed, what they were starving for, were anchors. People who could exist in the real world without suspicion. People who understood fear intimately, but didn't let it show. People who could stand in a Starbucks line, chat with a barista, walk past a playground, sit in an airport terminal, and see everything the way they did. Not as life, as layout, as opportunity, as rehearsal. The app shifted again. The building faded out, replaced by a live camera feed. A room. I recognized it instantly. My old bedroom, not how I'd left it. Cleaner, emptier, different furniture. Someone else lived there now. A young couple, early 20s, laughing, unpacking boxes. Normal. A red outline traced their bodies, automatically, then disappeared. No target markers, no tasks, just a prompt. Imagine. I felt something inside me recoil. A last, desperate piece of myself, clawing at the walls, screaming that this was wrong, that I was still human, that I could still stop. The app didn't rush me. It knew I would look, and I did. I noticed the way the man favored his left leg, the way the woman kept setting her phone down, screen up, careless, the way the window locks hadn't been changed. I hated myself for noticing. A counter appeared in the corner of the screen. Engagement. 89%. I whispered. I didn't do anything. The response came immediately, as if they'd been waiting for me to say it. Exactly. That's when the final message arrived. No interface, no visuals, just text. You don't need to act. You don't need to hurt anyone. You just need to be ready. The calendar reminder updated itself. Deployment. Date TBD. I closed my phone. For the first time in weeks, nothing happened. No buzzing, no overrides, no shadows in reflections. The terminal announcements droned on. A kid spilled a drink. Someone laughed too loudly at a phone call. Life continued. And that's when it finally clicked. This wasn't a game you won or lost. It was a network, and I wasn't trapped inside it anymore. I was part of its infrastructure. I still don't know when they'll call on me. I don't know where, or why, or for who. I just know that wherever I go now, whatever city, whatever line I stand in, whatever window I pass, I see the seams. I see how thin everything really is. So if you ever feel like someone's watching you for no reason, if you ever get that itch between your shoulders in a crowded place, if you ever catch someone looking at nothing and realize they're looking at everything, don't assume they're the threat. Sometimes they're just another rehearsal. And somewhere, off screen, someone is taking notes.